Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Tourismus Namibia, where once again we bring you news in terms of topics and then destinations. And we also have a nice to-the-point item for you this week. So under topics this week, we look at cheetahs that have gone to India and apparently not according to specs. Then we turn towards Nankuse, where we have a look at the fact that they want to get clarity about our environmental laws in Namibia. And thereafter, we look at a very nice cat and dog food donation that was given this week. Then we go over to destinations, and today we've got a very nice item, Living Desert Adventures in Swakopmund. As you can see there, it really is an adventure. Look how close she is. And thereafter, we'll have a look at the Wild Waters Group, not only because it's a destination, but I'll tell you later why we will have a closer look at it as well. And then finally, under To The Point, we've got the African Child Development Trust, something that is quite close to my heart. And you wonder why I'll be bringing that one? I'll once again tell you more when we reach the end of the show. My name is Frank Steffen. I welcome you once again, and hopefully we'll have a good time together. Up first is topics.
Bookings for Namibia Tourism Expo 2022 are open. The expo will take place from 3 to 5 November 2022 in Windhoek. To secure your booking, visit nte.nmh.com.na. And for more information on the expo, follow all Namibia Media Holdings platforms. The expo is supported by the Ministry of Environment, Tourism and Forestry, Namibia Tourism Board, FENATA, City of Windhoek, and Namibia Media Holdings. Namibia Tourism Expo, taking tourism to the regions.
Yeah, welcome back. And like I said, first up is cheetahs to India. So this is quite a weird story, really, because 10 years after a court in India blocked the translocation of cheetahs from Namibia to that country, the trial may finally take place next month. A total of 8 cheetahs will be taken there in August, in time for that country's 75th independence celebrations, which will take place on the 15th. That is what the media wrote towards the end of July. But when it happened in August, things went wrong. And now we have a situation of he said and she said, and the affected party is clearly once more the animal that is caught in the middle of human ignorance and arbitrary behavior. So the Indian High Commissioner to Namibia, Prashant Agrawal, has described as false and untrue media reports that India has rejected 3 cheetahs from Namibia because they were bred in captivity. Various publications reported that the 3 cheetahs, which are part of a translocation program, have been rejected and will be replaced by wild cheetahs. According to reports, importing cheetahs that cannot hunt on their own in a forest with a large cheetah population is likely to make their survival in the wild more difficult. A press release from the High Commissioner described the reports as distorted and taken out of context. When contacted to clarify exactly what facts were being disputed, however, the media spokesman, Mohammed Afsa, would not comment. And Namibia has, in the meantime, rejected any possible exchange. So I dare say that once again, these animals are doomed this way or the other. So it's really a shame. I think I totally disagree with what's been done here. For the simple reason that we somehow simply always pass these animals on. We've got these great ideas, exactly like these elephants that went to the zoo in Dubai, but we don't have a proper concept. We don't look through all the possibilities and angles and arguments before we do this. And because all of these items are invariably done without the necessary transparency with it, that's what really makes it so impossible to bear, and that's why the public has an outcry at the end of the day. Right, those were our cheetahs. Up next we've got Nankuse, and it's no longer a secret that Nankuse has been repeatedly targeted and harassed in recent years by certain officials in the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, MEFT as we know them. In fact, it is the same officials each time who are hurting the guest business, which also not only hurting, they're targeting them, which also cares to a great extent for the people in its vicinity. So ultimately, the goal of Nkuse Foundation, which is to protect and help animals, suffers as a result. That is why Nkuse has decided to take the Ministry of Environment to court now. Now, last month, the fuss had started all over again. You will remember our report in the show on July the 30th, when MEFT wanted to forbid the organization REST, that's the Rare and Endangered Species Trust, to give their birds and other small animals, mostly endangered species, to Nkuse. These squabbles are constantly repeated while writing paragraphs. If I say writing paragraphs, I should be saying splitting hairs of the affected laws. So the foundation now wants to get clarification from the court about the existing Namibian animal protection laws. The world-renowned conservationist and executive director of the foundation, Marlies van Vuren, recognizes in this judgment a fundamental decision that could go down in Namibian history. So according to Marlies, who, by the way, we had already spotlighted on this show in the context of her as well as her mother's stewardship of the Harnas farm, animal welfare is governed by two laws, namely the Animal Welfare Act of 1962 and the Nature Conservation Act of 1975. She said that these two laws not only conflict with each other, but on top of that, with the Namibian Constitution of 1990, when the country gained its independence. You may recall that her husband, Dr. Rudy van Vuren, had also spoken about this at times on this show, especially since the two laws are applied by two different ministries in our government. The Animal Welfare Act is under the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Nature Conservation Act is under the Ministry of Environment. So there you have it. It becomes a bit of an issue. Now, why I brought you those photos, you might recall them, in fact. We spoke about this whole story some time ago. It was in November last year, I think, when I went and introduced that new route for you from Harnas going up past Ipukiro. We in fact spoke about it just the other day again, that you can go up the eastern side of Namibia up to Kaudom and all those areas in Namibia. So it is along that way that you find Ipukiro Post 3 Clinic, and that is run by Harnas and Nkuse. Now, obviously, that's Dr. Rudy van Vuren, because he and other doctors volunteer, and they literally look after these people free of charge. So when MEFT always comes up with this argument about these people only having these weird ideas about how to look after animals and they don't care about people, then I dare say they can't be more wrong than that. Because these people definitely, they've got schools that they have support, they do a whole lot of that sort of support. So wherever they are, they look at schooling of the local people and respecting their culture. In fact, in trying to embrace that and put it into their whole tourism concept. And then they've got the clinics. So I think MEFT must just get their act together a bit on this one. Right, and then we had quite a nice donation this week. Cat and dog food donation. Unfortunately, we've only got this one photo, but let's face it, it's all about the dog food and the cat food and not so much about the people. And so MARS, that's M-A-R-S, capital letters, Consumer Products Africa, recently launched a campaign to help organizations and shelters alleviate the pressure which the COVID-19 pandemic is putting on surrendered and abandoned pets. For every pedigree or whiskers product now purchased, one meal will be donated to an animal in need. So Animal Welfare Organization Have Heart Namibia stated on its social media when Taban Corson contacted us to donate 41,000 worth of cat and dog food to Have a Heart Namibia, as well as the Cat Protection Society of Namibia. We knew that not only will many feral and homeless dogs and cats, but also dogs and cats whose families are in need have a chance at a full stomach. Have a Heart Namibia and the CPSN have distributed the food amongst several towns, and they will now distribute it to the individual animals that they have predetermined. So good stuff for our Namibian society, especially Tauban and thank you very much for that effort. Yeah, and those were our topics for this week. Up next, we've got destinations. Right, destinations for this week. Again, we've got 2 destinations that we looked up. And I must say, this week we've got some super nice ones. Living Desert Adventures in Swakopmund. Now, you can imagine, Adam Hartman, one of my colleagues, actually had a look at that. And so if you have a look at the map here, you will see that clearly the dunes come very close to Swakopmund and Wolfish Bay. Got Sandwich Harbour there at the bottom, and then Swakop, between Swakop and Wolfish Bay, you also have that stretch of dunes. So there's more than enough to explore. And so on the Living Desert Adventures internet site, you can read up our Living Desert Tour, also known as the Little 5 Tour, explores the local dune belt between Swakopmund and Wolfish Bay. While conducting tours, we take special care not to cause any damage to the dune ecosystem. During our tour, we will discuss topics such as endemic fauna and flora, conservation, and geology. Plenty of time will be made available for frequent stops to take photos of the dunes and the surrounding environment. Special attention is given to keep the desert in pristine condition, and as much care and respect is exercised while handling the delicate desert animals. As you can see there, these photos are just tremendous. So Tourismus Namibia spent a few hours in the Namib Desert with Chris Nell of Living Desert Adventures in Swakopmund and experienced the unexpected wonder of beauty and life of the desert right at Swakopmund's doorstep and under one's feet, in fact. So Nell's ability to engage his customers and teach them about the desert while also creating awareness and appreciation for conservation adds extra value to this business. So this is quite a nice little story, and we've obviously brought you a video. Have a look.
Chris Nell, the founder and owner of Living Desert Adventures in Swakopmund. Chris, thanks for joining us. Tell us, you look all ready for action today. What's happening today? Where are we going?
Well, Adam, you can see there's all action here. Guides are pulling cars out. This is how morning starts. And we're getting our gear together. We're going to pack the cool boxes. We're going to have a quick guide briefing. We're going to give the pickups. And then we're going to go and find our people. We're going to go to the desert. We're going to explore. We're going to have action. It's going to be an action-filled day today. The difficult part now is finding everybody. They're split all over town, so we're going to try and pick everybody up at 8 o'clock. We're going to be at 5 different places all at the same time. All these new faces and all these like new emotions, and that's a nice challenge. It's good. It makes every day exciting. So we're going to try and get everybody about 8 o'clock. By 8:15, we're going to go to the Swakop Bridge and we're going to do a little introduction, deflate the tires, do an introduction, and then we're going to go and explore the desert. We're normally back about between 12 and 1 o'clock.
So it's about a 4 or 5 hour.
Yeah, 4 to 5, flexible. If we see lots, if we battle, it's a bit longer. If we see lots early, depends on the weather. Yeah, and this is the most important part of the tour. Got a little gadget over here. It's a secret gadget. Stick it on there, and then the tire deflates. Half the pressure, double the the wheel size, balance the weight of the car over double the surface, we don't get stuck. This is a Nebel Dune Vista. It's a fog dune desert. Okay, so fog is constant. Summer, winter, it doesn't matter. We always have fog. So people, we have a little bit of fun. Bisschen Spaß haben, huh? So you don't need the phone, the telephone. Spaß ohne Telefon. Have fun, and let's see if we can come home today mit neue Augen. Wir kommen nach Hause mit neue Augen. Neue Herz, dass die Wüste ein schöner Platz ist. Wir standen jetzt in Nationale Park. We're in a national park. We're in a desert. The name of the desert? Leni, die Namen von Wüste?
Wüste.
Nein, was ist die Name von dem Wüste? Das ist Sahara-Wüste in die Nordafrika. Und ja, wir haben, which desert?
Navi.
Namib-Wüste. You see, I'm already making you think. What does Namib mean, Paul? Or, Namib means great open space, große offene Platz. Big Daddy? Oh, panorama, big open space. We're in a national park now. We're standing in Nationale Park. Name of the park? Sabrina?
Navi Knauklufpark?
I wish I could say yes, but you're wrong.
Then I don't know.
Dorop Nationale Park. So we're in the Dorop National Park, people. This park here, it's spelled like that, Dorop. Okay, it's protected. Schutzgebiet. And what does Dorop mean? It means dry place. Trockene Platz. Okay, so now you're in the great open space, in the dry place. You're in the dry place, in the great open space. Du bist in die Dorop, in die Namib.
You tell tourists a lot about the importance of conversation, and you give them a lot of information about the desert, which is very palatable. Why is that important?
I've got that concept. If you understand something, it becomes more beautiful. So
Yeah.
the more information they get, when we do the dune drive later on, then they'll actually stand in the dune and they'll appreciate it. It will have meaning because they now understand the dunes. If they don't have that background, that foundation, they're just going to say, oh wow, that's beautiful, look at the panorama, click click, and that's it. So now it will be emotional. Wow, I'm standing in this amazing place and there's all these crazy amazing things under my feet, next to me. It just becomes more meaningful and more beautiful.
You seem to understand the environment. How long have you been doing this for?
We started I've been in tourism since 1997 and started doing these day tours before this was a park in 2002.
So, Chris, we've now seen quite a few little creatures, and now we're going to go into the dunes. What are the components of your trip?
So the first part of the tour was just understanding the desert. What lives in a desert, what can we see, why do we have it, why is it so unique, really just getting a feel for it. And then the second part of the trip, which we're going to do now, is doing a soft dune drive over the dunes and actually just enjoy the panorama. So that concept we started off this morning. First understand and then enjoy. So we're going to stop on a dune, take photos, let people really absorb the colors and the emotion of the desert. So we're going to do the emotional part. So it's quite intense because we only have a limited amount of time, and so you spend a lot of time looking for little creatures, and this is time consuming. So if we have to sit and have a picnic, we're going to compromise finding stuff. So that's why we do it after breakfast, and then we end a little bit before lunch, so people can have breakfast at their hotel and lunch at the restaurant.
Thanks.
So we just offer soft drinks, but we don't do any picnics in the desert. It's too short, time is too short.
So there's going to be a lot of driving now. Well,
Yeah, nice little short dune drive, some fun. We go down the dune here.
roller coaster.
Kinder, was? Yes. Yeah. We like big children here today, eh? on.
Why do you enjoy doing this?
Why do I enjoy it?
Yeah.
It's a nice job. It's interesting. I don't have to put shoes on to go to work. Meet new people. And it's nice sharing information. And tourism is great because our country has so much to offer, so much beauty, so many beautiful landscapes, beautiful creatures to see. It's just all in all a lovely package. It's close to town, so the challenge was always before the Dorp was the off-road driving. That was the biggest problem. It was a problem when we started with the people just drove everywhere. So left a lot of scarring in the desert, and also the wildlife was scattered. It was difficult to find things. But since the Dorp National Park and there's rules and regulations, it's much, much better. So that was the greatest challenge, is just getting the 4x4s into one zone and the tourism into another zone. And then also just the more you can educate the public on how beautiful the place is and how special it is, then they will automatically look after the place. And then you don't need to enforce the rules, they'll enforce it themselves. This is for everybody, old, young. You can see the children, they're running down the dunes, they're screaming. They got a chance to hold a gecko this morning and a skink this morning. Old people, obviously, the older you are, you appreciate the landscapes, you appreciate the beauty. So it's for everybody, from 5 to 100 years, for everybody.
How can people get hold of you?
So I've got a website, it's just Living Desert Namibia. That's at livingdesertnamibia.com. And then on the website they can go through all the information, and there's a little button you push booking, and then you can contact me by email. If I look back, started this morning meeting the people, got to know new people, gave them the foundation, the general information. We saw the beautiful gecko, web-footed gecko endemic. We saw the Fitzsimmons skink, legless lizard. We saw dancing white lady spider. We saw a horned viper. We saw shovel-snouted lizard. We saw some species of tok-tokkies, and we put it all into perspective. And I think it's been good. I think we've covered everything.
Right, and that's obviously Living Desert Adventures in Swakopmund. And I must be honest, that having seen that, I must admit, to my shame, I have not been part of such an excursion, and maybe it's become high time. Right, so Wild Waters Group is our next one, and this one I specifically looked up. You will remember during the introduction I said there's a special reason why I'm bringing in Wild Waters Group. So the Wild Waters Group is a sustainable tourism-orientated umbrella company comprised of 4 award-winning camps and lodges, and they are there. You can see them in the red circles. That's where you find those lodges of theirs. And that purple circle I just put in to indicate the quadri point up in the north here. This is obviously a close-up of Caprivi. And we brought you another map as well, just to get it a bit more clearly. This is on their internet site. There you can see Casa Lupala, which is right at the bottom there, together with Jackalberry Camp and Rupara. So that's the whole area there. And as you go, because the Kwando comes down into that corner, turns this corner, and as it proceeds up towards the northeasterly direction, it becomes the Linyanti. And the Linyanti then goes into those swamps, and out of those swamps, the water escapes once more. The swamps are indicated with that blue spot. And as it goes past Ngoma, it becomes the Chobe River. So most people don't realize it, because up at Kasane again, the Chobe then joins the Zambezi at the quadri point. Anyway, so that's just a bit of background there. As I said earlier, it's an umbrella company comprised of 4 award-winning camps and lodges. By providing exceptional safari experiences, they are able to partially fund the protection and preservation of pristine land and existing wildlife populations, not to mention help create economic independence within local communities surrounding the lodges and the camps. So Nkasa Lupala Tented Lodge and Jackalberry Tented Camp, as well as Rupara Rest Camp, are all found in that lower triangle that I showed you earlier, and where the Kwanda then becomes Linyanti. And so this whole area must surely count as one of the most beautiful spots on earth. Serondela Lodge is, like I said, is found along the Chobe, quite close to the Kasane Point or Kasane town in Botswana. And the Quadri Point is obviously where Botswana, Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe meet at the eastern end of the Caprivi Strip that is now known as Zambezi region. And on the internet site, they actually write, all our camp and lodges are in partnership with their local community, where majority of the staff comes from. This concept is part of the WWF and IRDNC Joint Venture Conservancies program. So every guest that's staying at camps and lodges contributes to the conservancy fee, which in turn helps with the development of the community. So this is the ecotourism, which in a sense means responsible travel to natural areas that conserves the environment and improves the well-being of local people. So quite a mouthful, but the reason why we actually sort of upping the game on the Wild Waters Group this week is because they're involved in the ACDT, that's the African Child Development Trust, which is responsible for bringing all these educational booklets that Namibia Media Holdings brings out for the whole of the country. And they've sort of involved themselves by doing a free distribution in that whole area, which I think is a great idea because ACDT really still needs a lot of help. But we'll come back to that one and to the point. Up next, we first have a video for you.
Travellers choose to stay at the Wild Waters group of lodges because of their exclusive and wild locations, limited guest and vehicle numbers, extraordinary game viewing and exceptional care that is given to each guest during their stay. The Wild Waters group of lodges is a family business and all the properties are located in the Zambezi region of Namibia. Here, guests experience unique safaris by staying at any of the 3 exclusive lodge locations: Serondela Lodge on the Namibian banks of the Chobe River, the Jackalberry Camp and Nkasa Lupala Tented Camp in the wetland paradise of the Kwandu Linyanti River. The common factor which links them all is that each property defines what is meant by sustainable and responsible tourism. At each one of these resorts, guests feel the heart behind the eco-friendly, off-the-grid buildings, conservation efforts and staff training. Here, big smiles come naturally.
Hi everybody, my name is Vista. I'm working at Serondela Lodge. So I'm very proud of myself working in tourism because working in tourism is like attracting more guests, more people from different countries. So it also offers employment to local people in the villages, also helping people in the village, doing some projects. So I'm proud of it.
By providing exceptional safari experiences, the group is able to partially fund the protection and preservation of pristine land as well as existing wildlife populations, not to mention help create economic independence within local communities surrounding their lodges and camps. All their camps and lodges are in partnership with the local community where the majority of staff live. This concept is part of the WWF and IRDNC Joint Venture Conservancies program. Every guest staying at the camps and lodges contribute to the conservancy fee, which in turn helps the development of the community. Each property's electrical system, their swimming pools and borehole pumps all run on solar-powered energy. They have constructed the camps using as much as possible natural, locally purchased, energy-efficient and partially recycled materials.
I'm Petro. I'm from Boparo Gonzalez. I'm working at Castle Pala Tented Lodge as assistant manager. I'm representing as a voice of Namibian conservation.
The Wild Waters Group's vision is to ensure that their camps and lodges' natural and cultural environment is ethically managed and profitably operated according to the highest possible international standards, practices, and guidelines in sustainable tourism, environmental conservation, and biodiversity protection and cultural heritage preservation. In light of this, it comes as no surprise that all the Wild Waters lodges have been awarded by Eco Awards Namibia. These are sustainable tourism awards, and their ecotourism model is becoming an industry benchmark. This gives confidence to guests and booking agents that if they want their travel to have a tangible positive impact, they are making the right choice at Wild Waters camps and lodges.
Right, and that was the Wild Waters Group. I'm quite sure you've now got a better understanding why I'm saying it must be one of the most beautiful spots in the world. And so these were our destinations for today. Up next, we've got To the Point. Right, there you have it, African Child Development Trust. Like I said earlier, I want to speak about it a bit more, and one could possibly argue that it's got less to do with tourism, but then my argument is African, or the ACDT as we simply call it, are very intensively involved in the rural areas of Namibia, and those rural areas invariably live off tourism and or farming, whatever else it is. But the point is, tourism definitely is a huge factor in all of these areas. And like I said earlier, the Wild Waters Group, they do all the distribution of the these educational booklets that we bring out as part of the ACDT project throughout the Zambezi region, which is huge because remember, you can't drive everywhere. Somebody's got to pay for it. So they obviously combine this with their chores and whatever they do, taking tourists around the places. And I would almost dare all tourism outfits to seriously think whether they can't become part of this. Now, if you look at all these photos that we'll present to you now, they were obviously taken during the launch of the ACDT, that's the African Child Development Trust. So you will see there that the Deputy Minister of Education was part of that. And as by the same token, the Namibia Media Holdings is obviously the initiator of the whole process. So we're part of the trustees. So if you look at the photos there, I'll simply read off what we had here for you. So the African Child Development Trust seeks to bridge the gap and bring quality education materials to every Namibian child in need. The education project has been successfully running since 2020 now. Remember, that's the advent of COVID-19. So every month, hundreds of thousands of learners across the country receive a free booklet containing the latest Namibian syllabus in a highly visual format, making for fun, interactive learning. A project of the scale has never been done before. Not only do we deliver books to children across the country daily, but we ensure these books are curriculum-driven and available in 12 languages. So over 12 million educational booklets across Namibia have been distributed to ECDs, so those are the Early Child Development Centers, schools and home-based learners across all 14 regions. The logistics are mind-boggling. Every day, NDH, that's Namibia, NDH is part of Namibia Media Holdings. Team of drivers covers roughly 11,000 kilometers to reach even smaller population centers across the country. So that's our Namibia distribution hub, NDH. So one of the biggest challenges that the team working on this project had to overcome was ensuring that books could be delivered to all schools in 14 regions. So ensuring that distribution is done cost effectively while still reaching all corners of Namibia was a key focus of the project. Therefore, teams had to find new methods of bridging that last mile gap to reach schools, even in the most remote areas. However, thanks to the dedication of the NDH team and the assistance of various other parties like farmers, councillors, and even teachers, the team was able to reach 360,000 children weekly. One example of how groups in the community have come together to ensure quality education for all children starts in the Zambezi region of Namibia. This was one of the most difficult regions to reach, as schools are widely spread and remote. However, with over 30,000 children, pre-primary to grade 3, in need of quality education materials, the ACDT team knew that a plan needed to be made. A group called the Namibia Wetlands Group reached out and put up their hand to assist. Seeing the needs in their community, they realized the value of the project. They volunteered their time, resources, and avenues to help distribute materials to the entire Zambezi region. The team works tirelessly to sort and distribute over 15,000 Salozi books and over 14,000 English books to the schools in the Zambezi every single week. To date, they have assisted with over 600,000 books to be delivered to schools in the region. So this is huge. The challenge of distributing to and reaching all schools in the Zambezi was immediately alleviated when the Namibia Wetlands team offered their assistance. Now, children across the Zambezi can continue learning in their language due to easy access to educational materials. We need more teams, groups, and lodges in other regions to take hands with the ACDT to help bring education closer to every child. Distribution challenges exist in many regions in Namibia, as schools are often very remote. However, if people put up their hand to assist, more children will receive the education they deserve. Together, we will be able to build a brighter future for Namibian children. So that's, I had actually asked Shanae Botha, who's one of the trustees, to compile this thing for me, because there's no way how I can summarily sum it all up without forgetting the half of it. So up next, we've got a video for you.
From 2020 to 21, as previously said, we've reached over 360,000 children daily in 12 languages in all 14 regions, over 12 million books. We spent over 50,000 hours in development time to make this happen. We traveled more than 1.2 million kilometers in this time to make sure that we reach every corner of this country on a daily basis. We reached over 900 schools, over 500 ECDs, which for the record is about 60% of all the childhood development children. But yet there are still 2,000 ECDs we haven't reached, the smaller ones. It's a real challenge to get to everybody. We spent and designed, Teacher Mutse was earlier here, that she's been the voice of SOSI. We've made over 18,000 minutes of online training. Yes, we do recognize and we do acknowledge that the future is online. But far too often, funders, individuals, people live for tomorrow and forget about today. The reality on the ground is that reach online does not reach 5% of the children. So 95% of our children are dedicated and required to reach through print. The irony is print is still the best way to learn. The concept of motion and pen and paper is extremely powerful and extremely important. We have spent a lot of time on the academic side of this education, and the project is where it is. But we have to be fair. Education is a lot more than just going to school. It requires us to have an holistic approach on education, the social, emotional, cognitive, and physical needs. And that's why NMH, Namibia Media Holdings, have realized that this project, and trust me, we've done a lot, requires more input. It requires bigger input. It requires more people to be involved. This project is too big for NMH. And yes, we have traveled 1.2 million. And yes, we have printed 12 million books. And yes, we do reach 360,000 children every day.
As the patron of Africa Child Development Trust and the minister responsible for education in the Republic of Namibia, it is my honor and privilege to officially launch the trust. And may I invite the trustee to join me on the stage so that I declare this trust launch. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister Christina. That was an inspirational speech indeed, and here is the reveal.
A distinct honor to declare this trust tonight launched. Thank you.
Yeah, right. There you can see what happened when this whole thing was launched, which has been a while ago. But I just thought it's important to just raise the issue again. On the photos that I obviously showed you earlier, you would have recognized Michelle McLean. Obviously, she was hosting the launch and very much involved there, trying to assist ACDT, and she promised to do a whole lot more for them in future. And the other one who's obviously a trustee is the Deputy Minister of Education, Faustina Cayley, that you saw there as part of the photos there. You can see how the CEO basically handed over a little token of appreciation to her, and Michelle McLean is seen on the left-hand side there. So yeah, anyway, that's just to give you an indication what it is all about. So if you are in the tourism industry, you might want to follow the example of the group. Now I've forgotten the name. Can you believe it? It's the Wild Waters group. Sorry. And so obviously that's part of the deal. That if guys get involved, then I will certainly support you in getting your name out there, because I really think this is quite an important issue. It really, we saw this week where we've got this new report on the fourth industrial revolution, and now Namibia suddenly talks about wanting to change its educational system and get with the program and so on, and get all these guys out there to be part of this super new society that's only reliant on internet and I don't know what technology, but we haven't got the basics right. These children of the lower ages don't even have access to schools, never mind to school books. So this is a good program, and I really think ACDT should be supported a lot more by many people out there. So if you feel interested, please contact us at Namibia Media Holdings. We'll definitely make sure that you get to the right people involved with the ACDT, that's the African Child Development Trust. Anyway, enough of that, to the point, a bit different today. I hope you were still interested to hear of all these items. And that leaves me only to tell you goodbye. Have a nice long weekend. We still have today and tomorrow left of the long weekend after we've obviously had our Heroes Day yesterday. So enjoy the weekend. I hope you've got a good week ahead of you. And then we see each other in another week's time. Until then, remain healthy, look after yourself. Bye.